can do it now. Make it easier. What?
That's fine. So what about Valdez, Toledo, Sargel, all them? All right. What about Unuka?
Is that the update? Okay. Actually, kick us off. Yep.
Thanks, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. Governor DeSantis, Commissioner Corcoran, distinguished guests, welcome to Cristo Tampa Salesian High School. My name's Scott Moriel. I'm the president of Cristo Tampa. Our high school, which was established just 4 short years ago, was created with the mission to prepare students from underserved communities by providing them the opportunity to participate in a rigorous academic environment, preparing them for the dream of one day attending college. This year marks the first graduating class in our school's history. On August 8th, I will confer diplomas to students who just 4 short years ago did not think they would have the opportunity to compete in such a challenging program, let alone attend a prestigious 4-year university. Might I add, 98% of these students are going to college. Many of these young men and women will be first-generation members of their family to go to college. Our story here at Cristo Tampa is truly one of the American dream, providing the opportunities that wouldn't be possible if it were not for the leadership of our governor and the representatives of the great state of Florida. Cristo is so fortunate to serve our students under the Florida scholarship programs. We couldn't be prouder to host Governor DeSantis at our school today to mark this special occasion. The governor understands that we are moving toward a new definition of public education. 30 years ago, in Florida, public education meant one thing. Your zoned school district assigned was determined by your zip code. Today, over 40% of the students in Florida, funded by our taxpayers, do not have to attend zone schools. They attend district-run magnets, charter schools, take virtual classes, and participate in college classes under dual enrollment. And yes, students are also fortunate to receive taxpayer funding to attend private faith-based schools like Cristo Tampa. No one type of school is better than the other, but one school may be a better fit for an individual student. Cristo Tampa Salesian High School, as it's stated in our mission, was created to strengthen the competence, confidence, and aspiration of our students from economically disadvantaged families, empowering them to build fulfilling lives that advance the common good of all people. Together, we are truly building tomorrow's leaders. Governor DeSantis has been a strong supporter of educational choice even before he became governor. But he could have been any stronger in his convictions since he took office. In his first year as governor, he listened to low-income parents on the waiting list for tax credit scholarship program and pushed for the creation of the Family Empowerment Scholarship. This scholarship is not dependent on tax-credited donations from companies. The funding from the scholarships comes from the state budget. Therefore, the funding is not dependent on the profit of donors. The FES had a very successful first year, with every one of the 17,000 scholarships being utilized. With his leadership, the governor came right back and made the expansion of the program a priority again this year. The bill that the governor worked with the legislature to pass has allowed the program to grow to over 28,000 students per year. Florida's scholarship programs that allow parents to choose private schools are just one of the options that need to be on the table for low-income families. The governor knows that all the options, including district schools, need to be supported. Governor DeSantis, on behalf of all students on all of Florida's scholarship programs, and on behalf of all of Florida's students, no matter where they choose to attend, we say thank you. Thank you for leading these efforts and providing us a new definition of public education as we continue to work hard developing tomorrow's leaders. I'm grateful to you for your vision and your leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Governor of the great state of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
Well, thanks so much, Scott. Thanks for having us here today. It's great to be here. Congratulations on the success that you've had. I know your valedictorian's going to Rice, which is a great achievement, but I just ask maybe let your valedictorians stay in the state of Florida. We've got some great universities here as well, but I know that they have a lot of opportunities, and that's a good thing. I want to thank some of the folks who are here with us. I think we've got a number of legislators here. Who, raise your hand if you're a legislator. I got Wenge, I got Jamie Grant, I got Susan Valdez, I got Senator Stargell. Is Tom Lee here? Tom Lee, Bush, yeah, there he goes again. Yeah, so thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it. We worked really hard this year to be able to deliver for students and families when it comes to education in the state of Florida, and it was a tough fight on a lot of this stuff. Yesterday we were able to sign the bill to increase Florida's average minimum teacher salary in the state of Florida to take us from the bottom 25 states into the top 5. That was a really important thing, one of the biggest initiatives that's ever been able to be accomplished in a generation here in the state of Florida. That will, one, I think, reward teachers who are doing a good job. It'll be good for students. It'll be good for families. It'll also help us continue to recruit people into the profession as we go forward. So that was a really, really big victory. The budget is obviously going to be a little bit more difficult than we anticipated, but I felt that we had to deliver on that core promise, and so that's going to be in the budget. It's good to go, and people be able to benefit from that very, very soon. We also were mindful of a lot of our low-income families who needed additional help to be able to get their kids in the school that best fits that child's needs. We had success doing the Family Empowerment Scholarship during my first year as governor because we had 15 to 20,000 kids sitting on a wait list for Florida's tax credit scholarship program. And we believed that we wanted those kids off the wait list. We wanted to be able to empower parents. Many of them are low-income parents. Many of them are single mothers, working mothers, to have a meaningful choice and to get their child in the best environment. So we did the Family Empowerment Scholarship, which effectively cleared the wait list. But what we found was there was a lot of support. There was a lot of interest in utilizing that. So we knew that we needed to make sure that we weren't going to let wait lists build up again in the future. So this particular bill that I'll sign into law today expands. It builds off a lot of the success we've had. We're going to hear from Chikara Parks, who's got 4 kids on scholarship, about how meaningful this is to mothers, families, kids, and this will mean more opportunity. And if you look at a lot of the stuff that's going on in our country, a lot of different controversies, I think if we in the state of Florida can say we're doing everything we can to make sure that any child, regardless of income, regardless of family status, regardless of race or ethnicity, has tools to be able to make the most of their God-given talent. If we succeed in doing that, then we're going to be doing probably as much than anything else that we can do. So I'm excited to be here for this. We're going to hear from a couple folks before I sign the bill. So one of the guys who was really fighting hard for this in the Florida Senate, who has a very strong passion for education, coming from Miami, where Miami-Dade County, for those of you who may not know, I think, and John Curley can correct me, but 70% of the students in Miami-Dade attend a school other than what they were zoned for. So the traditional model, you're zoned here, you go there. And it's not all tax credit scholarships or family empowerment. It's that, it's charter school, it's school choice within the school district. And I think it's the best performing large school district in America as a result of a lot of those things. So he understands this. He's worked very hard. He helped deliver a big victory. So Senator, why don't you come up here and say a few words?
Thank you, Governor. And I just want to, first of all, thank you, because from the very beginning when you took office, you became the education governor, and you made it a priority. And that is completely shows in this week, where yesterday you signed a huge bill and a win for teachers in our state, making us in the top 5 with teacher salaries. And today you're here to sign a bill that is going to continue to provide opportunities for all students and all families in our state. And it just shows the balanced approach and the fact that you want our families to have a choice. And we could have stopped after last year, but you came and said, look, we got rid of that first waiting, but the demand is there, and we don't want to leave any families out. And the governor led on this, and it really made it easier for us to work through the legislative process. I also want to thank all of my colleagues. I want to thank Senator Galvano, President-designate Simpson, and Chair Bradley, who are not here, who are also instrumental, and of course my partner in education in the Senate, Senator Kelly Stargell, who's always there, and we do it in tandem. This is teamwork, and thanks to your push and the legislative process, we were able to get this victory. And we're not going to stop, Governor. We're going to continue to push forward until every family has the opportunity, and every student, regardless of zip code, has a chance to choose the school that's best for them. So again, thank you, and this is a big day for the students and families, so congratulations. Thank you very much, Governor.
All right, we got a graduating senior here, Aiden Montero, so he's going to come up and say a few words.
Good afternoon, Governor DeSantis. Good afternoon, Governor DeSantis, distinguished guests, and friends of Cristo Tampa Salesian High School. I am Ada Montero, a recent graduate and first graduating class of Cristo Tampa Salesian High School, the class of 2020. As a recipient of the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship, I was able to attend Cristo Tampa Salesian High School. While at Cristo Rey, I had the opportunity to learn from best teachers, made amazing friends, and was introduced to the corporate world, which is not something typical for a high school student. And for all this, I am thankful. Cristo Tampa Salesian High School is more than a high school. Each student also participates in a corporate work study program, where we are introduced to professional work experiences while we are taking college preparatory academic course load. The corporate work study program was my favorite part of high school. I met many professionals who taught me and guided me on my path towards college. During my freshman year and sophomore year, I worked at a company called Label Value. In my junior year, I worked at Amini Financial, and as a senior, I worked at CBRE. I am appreciative of all these businesses and corporate work study supervisors who believe in me and instilled me in my confidence to aspire my dreams. I am very excited to share that I will attend Florida Institute of Technology in the fall and plan to study software engineer. Thank you, Governor DeSantis and Step Up for Students, for the opportunity to participate in the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship Program that allowed me to obtain a private school education at Cristo Tampa Salesian High School. Because of your support and efforts, I'm the first person in my family to go to college, and I look forward to the day that I do the same for a student. Thank you.
Congratulations, that's wonderful. And Florida Institute of Technology over on the Space Coast, you go there, you do well in those key areas. There's going to be a lot of jobs there, because that's really taken off with all the aerospace, and really exciting. It's also my pleasure to be able to bring up, we talk about this bill, are you going to sign this, that, and it's like, okay, it's not about me signing a bill, legislature passing, that's sometimes just theater. What effect do these things actually have on people's lives? And I think that Shakira Parks will be able to talk about what these scholarships mean to her family. She's got 4 kids, and I think really show how meaningful it is. So why don't you come on up?
Hello. Again, my name is Shakira Parks. I have 4 children that received the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship. I have Kamaja, who's in the 9th grade. She attends Northside, and we reside in St. Petersburg. I have Tanija and Daquan, who attend Academy Prep St. Petersburg, and I have Tejan who attends Mount Zion. This scholarship has been amazing to me. The experience I've had in public school, some are good, and I always say that some public schools are amazing, and then there's some that are just not. And because I didn't have the choice to choose that with public school, the good schools were on the waiting list. We're number 7 for 2 years, so it was just a lot. To be able to receive this scholarship, it's amazing. I can't say it enough. So today I just wanted to say thank you. So I am a full-time student, and I work part-time as a substitute in Pinellas County Schools. I want to say thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for caring enough. Thank you for making me and my family count. Thank you for choice. Thank you for not only thinking of being involved, but actually being involved. Thank you, Governor DeSantis, for living our dream with us in the wake of it all. Thank you, Commissioner Cochran, Chair Diaz, and everyone else who supported this bill. You all have helped me break the educational gap that has tried to continue forming on my bloodline. Thank you for creating our new norm. Thank you for expanding scholarship opportunities for family in Florida. The visions are possible when there are supportive believers. Thank you for believing.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming, and good best of luck to all your kids as they continue with their education. Commissioner Richard Corcoran has been leading the fight for our teacher pay initiative, which is very important, and then obviously helping expand educational choice for low-income families. So, Richard,
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. You know, you guys, it was probably September, October last year where the governor laid out, for 2 years, he laid out just an amazing, bold vision for education. And in this second year, he laid out 2 bold visions. And to be able to come yesterday in Miami and today in Tampa, and you're 9-10 months later, and you're actually signing bills that have a profound impact in people's lives and teachers' lives. You know, we go from 26 to the top 5 in teacher pay yesterday, and today we are expanding a choice program that all of the national tests, all of the national surveys, Northwestern just came out, anytime you have robust choice, every single school gets better. All kinds of schools, every type of school gets better. And what we had in his first term, the first FES scholarship that he passed and authored had 18,000 slots. All 18,000 slots were immediately filled. It is the largest single choice program in the history of America that grew that much, that fast in the history of our country. And that's an amazing thing. And so he came back this year, and the governor, with the great help of our legislature, passed another expansion of that scholarship, as you heard, now it's going to go up to 29,000 kids. And education is everything. Education goes to who we are as human beings. It's what gives us hope, it's what gives us dignity, and every single person deserves that. And what's happening today is ensuring that all children in the state of Florida, thanks to the great work of our governor, are going to be afforded a world-class education. But to be travel with you, to work for you, Governor, for 2 straight days, and to see what we did for children and education yesterday with the largest single teacher package, compensation package in the history of our state, and now to the largest expansion of a choice program in our country, is just a wonderful thing. You're the education governor, and we can't thank you for all you're doing. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Commissioner, and I'm going to go over here in a minute and sign the bill, but I would also just like to say I think it's good that if you look yesterday when we did the teacher pay initiative, we had a number of our bipartisan coalition. I know Representative Bush was there, Freud today. We got Wengay Newton, Susan Valdez. Education really should be bipartisan. I mean, it's all about opportunity, and it's really good that we've been able to get a lot of bipartisan support for some really good initiatives. And we have some others coming down the pike once I get done signing all these bills over the next few days. But as of right now, we'll get one in the books. Here we go. state is what, 26? You can't have the bill. You can have a pen. Anyone else? Two more. Take it. All right, there you go. Right over here real quick. All right, let her rip.
Governor, I have two questions. One is, we've seen some businesses had to close their operations over the last couple of days here in Tampa because of the spike that we've seen. So I'm wondering, do you take responsibility for that?
We're not forcing them to do it. I mean, if that's the choice that they're making it. I think that the folks, following the guidelines, people have been able to do it in ways that are low risk, and that's been pretty much the case since the beginning of May. And remember, we did the opening at the beginning of May, had very steady, manageable cases. We've obviously seen that turn lately, but we had a very quiet May, and I think everyone has to acknowledge that.
And my second question, sir, is we've seen the governor of Texas say that they're now going to pause their reopening. Is there any part of you, even 1%, that is...
Well, where we are. I mean, I'm not taking. I didn't say we're going to go on to the next phase. We've done a step-by-step approach, and it was an approach that's been reflective of the unique situation of each area. So, for example, South Florida, they've been on a different schedule. They've been on a much slower schedule. They also are having the biggest outbreak still, even with that slower schedule. So that's the way, it's been done. We never anticipated necessarily doing anything different in terms of the next phase at this point anyways. So we are, we are where we are. Obviously, South Florida is where they are. I think the main thing is just for folks to, look, in May, if you remember, end of April, May, all the way through, coronavirus was relatively quiet in Florida. You had manageable cases. Our positivity rate was 4 or 5% consistently. We had nursing home outbreaks. We had issues we were dealing with. Obviously, we were testing all the nursing homes. Very important. But then you got into kind of Memorial Day. You had a lot of protests for 2 weeks, and it kind of fell off the front pages. And I think that folks, thought, hey, let's move on to the next thing. And I think we know that it's not something that just goes away. It's something that you got to understand, you got to live with. And I'm confident that people, if you follow guidelines, if you follow the instructions from the local and the state and the federal officials, you can do things in a low-risk way. But I do think that folks just, look, it's a natural human thing. You're having more contact. You're doing things. And so we've seen most of this case growth in those under 40 category. And look, they are less at risk. There's no doubt about it. They obviously want to be out there and be very be more social. You can do little things that will make a difference. I mean, we have everyone, wearing a mask because they're not 6 feet, and so that's an appropriate thing to do. Obviously, avoiding really close quarters, particularly indoor with poor ventilation, that is going to be a situation where you're going to have more spread. Avoid big crowds. I know we have seen some big crowds, over the last few weeks, but the more you can minimize that, the better. And outdoors in Florida is better than the air conditioning in terms of the virus. There's just no doubt about it. The spread outdoors is minimal. If you're cooped up inside, you just tend to have more spread. The areas where we've probably had the most outbreaks have been linked to the home, where you have multi-generational families living. I know Manny's area down in Dade has seen that. And so that's just something that people should understand, that close, consistent contact. Now that you have some of the younger folks who are testing positive at higher rates, it's just important for folks in the upper age groups, whether you're a parent or a grandparent, to just understand that that's out there. continue to take the proper steps and maintain the appropriate social distance. But if you look, the seniors here in Florida have done a tremendous job. I mean, we said from the beginning of March, limit as much contact as you can, avoid crowds. They have done that and then some, and obviously we need to keep doing that as we deal with, with some of the proliferation of these infections, but particularly with those younger cohorts. And keep in mind, you are seeing infection, the positivity rate grow, which obviously we want to turn that in the other direction. Some of what you're seeing, though, is the fact that this is mass testing regardless of symptoms. And the CDC even came out today and said they think there's at least 10 times as many people who have been infected than there are actual cases in this country. And I think that's consistent with pretty much every seroprevalence study that's been done. This is by and large, particularly for people under 60, an asymptomatic illness. Now, obviously, some people under 60 could have problems, but most of the people who are testing positive now are not developing symptoms and are not even present symptoms when they test. That was different from what we were doing in March and April, where you absolutely had to have symptoms. There just weren't enough tests to be able to do. If you had symptoms, and usually you had to be a certain age, you got the test. Now we're more of a mass testing. That is a good thing because every asymptomatic case you identify, if they follow the precautions and isolate, then that can really lower the spread. Because if they're asymptomatic and didn't get a test, well, then they may go around, they may not think that they had it or doing it, and they could spread it to other people. So identifying a lot of asymptomatic folks can help us mitigate the spread of these areas. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so no, it's a good point. So we're going to do, okay. Yeah, we are going to do more. So I spoke with the head of Baycare. They're going to do a site at Tropicana Field. So we're going to support if they need swabs, if they need support, we're going to do that. And then also some of our other drive-through sites, we've expanded the lanes so that people are able to get through. I mean, what happened was I was going around in mid-late March begging people to get tested because we didn't have a lot of traffic going through these sites. And now, obviously, because it's more prevalent in the news in particular, people want to, which is a good thing. So we are expanding capacity at our existing sites. We will support the Pinellas County test, and then if they need to do more at Raymond James, we're happy to do that. We're also, for every county, in fact, the test drop tomorrow. Every staff member at a long-term care facility is going to need to be tested every 2 weeks. We're actually providing all of those tests for all of those people. That'll take a little bit of pressure off some of these drive-through sites. So we want to do that. We're going to provide support for the locals. Now, of course, keep in mind also, all these big counties, Hillsborough, Pinellas, all that, they got huge dollars for the CARES Act. So they also have the ability to do some stuff, and we obviously, would expect that they would be stepping up as well. But yes, we want to be helpful on that, and we do want people to be able to get tested more quickly.
Governor, you're looking at the data every day. You obviously know the long-term strategy for the state better than anyone. There are still dozens of people dying every week from this virus. Based off of everything that you know, is that a reality Floridians should expect for the foreseeable future, potentially through the rest of the year?
Well, obviously, we want this to end as soon as possible. I wish if I honestly thought it would end tomorrow, I would do cartwheels and I would tell people that. But I said from the beginning, even as we got through that first peak, we moved into the end of April and May, that the virus doesn't just disappear. Even when it's down, since to the extent people thought maybe it comes back in the fall, there's still prevalence, I think, throughout the whole year, and that's just the reality. So we're going to have to live with that. Now, I would say, if you look at the COVID-related fatalities per capita, we've done much better than anyone predicted. And we have probably the most vulnerable population. Now, we still got a lot of work to do, obviously. Part of that is because of the focus on the long-term care facilities. Nationwide, it's thought that more than 50% of COVID-related fatalities have been residents of long-term care facilities. And if you look in Florida, in that under 55 age group, our case fatality rate is extremely low. And if you believe in the seroprevalence, which I do, probably 10 times as many people in that age group have actually been infected. And so the infection fatality rate is even lower. So just understand there's a major age difference. The comorbidities have an impact on that. And so the fatalities are really going to be a function of how good a job we can do protecting those vulnerable. We're putting forth huge resources on the testing of the staff. We've already either tested or at least offered a test to every resident of a long-term care facility. We've tested staff, and that's hundreds of thousands. I think probably 300-some thousand tests were done with that. So we've put an enormous amount of effort into protecting the most vulnerable, and we're going to continue to do that. But if you can tell me that we will not have a single nursing home outbreak going forward, then I can tell you there will be fewer fatalities. If you tell me all of a sudden there's going to be 10 nursing home outbreaks, then that will lead, unfortunately, to more mortality. So understand where the risk of mortality is most acute, and focusing a lot of attention there, I think, is the best way to try to save lives. Yes, sir.
Governor, Hispanic immigrant community farm workers had upset about that using them to spring COVID-19. What do you think?
To do what with COVID-19?
The farm workers
What about them?
are upset about what did you say about them?
You know, I don't know why they're upset. I mean, when we have different outbreaks going around the state, describing where we're seeing that is not anything that's just what we do. And so I don't know why they would be upset. We do have outbreaks in farm community. That's just the reality. If you look at Immokalee in Collier County, if you look at some of the places in Palm Beach County, if you look at places in Martin County, we have seen that. And it's not blaming them for the outbreak. That's just the reality that there are outbreaks. I mean, there's some of those areas where they've tested 100 farm workers and they've had 80 or 90 test positive. None of them have symptoms, or maybe only one of them will have symptoms, so the disease burden is low on the hospital system. But when you see positive tests and people say, where are the positive tests coming from? This is more a couple weeks ago where that was really kind of popping. I think that's still going on, but I think what we've seen in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, is more community transmission in that 18 to 40-year-old range, across our major metro areas. So there's a combination of all these different things, and that's just the reality of the situation. Let me do one more. Yes, ma'am. Richard, you want to take that?
You've reached out to us several times. My office has communicated with you very clearly that the pandemic plan, in it is what we strategize on how to keep our school children safe, and it is not a public record. And if you'd like, we'll get you the statute, we'll get you the general counsel to talk to your office. No. It's about school safety, and it's about protecting children.
Well, so the question is about, so what we did in the middle of March is we restricted outside visitation to nursing homes and long-term care facilities, and then also imposed a prohibition on hospitals from discharging COVID-positive nursing home patients back to nursing homes, because obviously we didn't want it to spread and infect other nursing home residents. Now those are I think those are the right decisions to make, and I think that's contributed to us having fewer per capita fatalities in that community than some of the other states that had more blow-ups and had other policies. At the same time, and I understand there is a huge strain when you're told you can't have visitors. We've done things with the Department of Elder Affairs, like send in iPads so they could FaceTime with family members, and we want to be able to do that. I've told Secretary Mayhew, create a plan. I want people to be able to go in. At the same time, I can't run the risk of someone having a visitor and then having 30 nursing home residents 10 days later having this virus. The cost is very high, so it's risky. Now, on terms of rapid testing, here's the problem with the rapid testing. You have one test that's 15 minutes that typically runs false positive at an unacceptable rate. Okay, so if you want to go in a nursing home, you may test negative or false negative. You may test negative on this. You may be infected. You go in. That obviously is not good. We have other tests that are 45-minute that have about 5% are false positives. So that's also bad, because imagine if you're just going somewhere, you get a false positive, and then you're told to quarantine for 2 weeks when you really don't even have the virus. So those rapid tests they can be helpful, but there's not enough accuracy to really say that that's something that we should hang our hat on. So that's been a concern of mine. Look, had we continued on our May and early June course, and I thought that the disease prevalence was low enough, we may have moved quicker to do it. But I want to see this disease prevalence, I want to see the positivity rate go down before we start. We have over 4,000 facilities in Florida. It isn't like if we just had 5 big super centers, then we could put infrastructure around there. But there's no way the state's going to be able to be at every one of these. I mean, you're going to have certain guidelines, and those guidelines are going to have to follow. And even with all we did to stop visitation and to have screening of the staff and everything, we still had infections. And so it's a really, really difficult thing. Yes, ma'am. Well, she's going to ask one behind you.
Governor, are there any plans to add more COVID recovery units in the Tampa Bay area? And then two, as we're seeing an increase in the Hillsborough County area, are there any plans to look at specific urban areas when you're determining next steps as far as reopening or even rolling back reopening measures?
So in terms of, are you talking about in terms of adding new beds or new hospital capacity?
The COVID recovery units that the state has set up. So I think there's one in Polk County.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's different. So, so what we did, it's interesting. Remember back in March when everyone said we needed to flatten the curve. If you go up, the hospital system would be stressed. You may overwhelm it, and that would cause excessive deaths. If you flatten the curve, you can avoid that. But what a lot of people don't remember is you still have the same number of infections. They're just spread out over a longer period of time. So our peak before was much lower than a lot of the other states like the Northeast, for example. But as we see, I think a lot of the states that had lower peaks are still seeing cases. Really the whole Sun Belt is seeing this. And so that means that, you have infections you got to deal with, obviously hospital, but we are much better prepared to deal with this. I mean, we have therapeutics like remdesivir. We have a massive testing infrastructure. Everyone that goes into a hospital now can get tested like that, and they are doing that. When my wife and I, we had a baby at the end of March. My wife didn't get tested. There weren't enough tests to go around to do that at the end of March. Now, if you go in to have a child, you have an elective procedure, they're all doing that. One of the things that we are way better off on today than we were in March and April is we now have a series of skilled nursing facilities that are COVID only. And so if you have an outbreak at a nursing home, maybe you have 2 residents that test positive, but they're not, it's amazing, some of these residents will test positive and they're asymptomatic. So maybe you don't need to send them to the hospital, but you do need to get them out of the nursing home so it doesn't spread. Well, now you have these COVID-only facilities where you can take them, have a safe place. Obviously, everyone in there has COVID, so there's no worry about the spread. And the same thing if they're in the hospital and then they become medically stable, you have a place to be able to remove them. So what the Tampa Bay area has been using is our Polk County facility, and that has a decent number of beds. I know Secretary Mayhew would like to have one in the Tampa Bay area closer. We haven't been able to necessarily nail down, because obviously you have to have the proper facility. You got to get somebody who's operating it. Sometimes that'll be a contractor. Sometimes Dolphin Point in Jacksonville, that was just going to be a regular nursing home, but it came online right as COVID was hitting. So Secretary Mayhew said, hey, contract with us and do COVID only, and they did it. Lee Health is running one in, they have a COVID recovery now in Fort Myers, which is run by a hospital, and then you have some others who were basically nursing facilities that have transitioned. So I think it's a really good tool to be able to prevent outbreaks amongst the most vulnerable, but then have places to put medically stable. So if there was an opportunity and we had the right facility, we knew it could be run, the state would absolutely be there with money and resources to be able to support it without question.
Governor,
Thanks, guys.
Do you think there's